You're listening to Nightmare on Film Street. The current time is 6:66. Traffic is clear ahead from here to the afterlife, but it's hell outside. For the next hour, you're on Nightmare time. So, let's give a grave welcome to our hosts, John and Kim.
Hello again, fiends, and welcome to Nightmare on Film Street, horror for the casually obsessed. I'm Kim.
I'm John.
And this week, we are continuing our familial horrors with Bob Balaban's 1989 Parents.
Yeah, we've actually talked about Bob Balaban movies before. We previously, years ago, covered My Boyfriend's Back, which, fitting with last week's hour-long conversation about camp and kitsch, My Boyfriend's Back, definitely more in the camp category. Parents, on the other hand, pure kitsch.
Yeah, definitely more kitsch than camp. Still camp?
Yeah, kitsch nightmare. Gordon Ramsay's kitsch nightmare.
I would like a shirt in the Kitchen Nightmares font that just says, hang on, I'm writing this down. I'm putting it in our store right now.
We're talking about Parents, directed by Bob
Did we do our
Balaban.
names?
We did.
Okay.
Kim's drunk. She had a mocktail this afternoon and somehow drunk.
I'm over a cold, so and it's like nice and sunny out. I feel like a new person.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of like energy I need to get out.
So I'm steering the ship this week. If you haven't heard of Parents, here are 3 good things about it. Number 1, maximum kitsch. Last week, we talked about Serial Mom and John Waters' Maximum
Maybe last
Camp.
week. It really depends on how the schedule went. Stop saying last week.
That's a real good point. Last time.
Earlier this month.
Previously on Nightmare on Film Street, we were talking about Maximum Camp. This week, we're just as much off the rails talking about Maximum Kitsch. Number 2, creepy Randy Quaid, which is kind of a genre
which is
itself.
all Randy Quaid, even if unintentional.
Right? Once you know about Randy Quaid, it's all creepy Randy Quaid.
I definitely read his Wikipedia page before we started recording this. I knew about some of his legal troubles back in like 2010. They're still going.
Oh, are they?
He's done some things.
Does he still have
None
that
of them
mountain
make sense.
man look?
None of them make sense. Like, did you know that they tried to seek asylum in Vancouver?
Love it.
Like, they tried to cross the border and they were like, America wants to kill us. And Canada was like, no.
This isn't exactly what we use. Like, you're clearly not an asylum seeker.
And then eventually they kicked them out of Canada. So his wife is part Canadian, so she got citizenship, but he wasn't apparently checking in properly like a foreign citizen. They lived in Montreal for a while, and then they dropped down into Vermont, and then a bunch of their legal troubles caught up with them because, they were avoiding the law for a while.
Go ahead and Google that if you want some additional extracurricular reading.
Yeah,
for this
lots of
week's
weird
episode.
petty fraud, avoiding hotel bills. Makes no sense, but, some people like to, keep their life a little spicy and have police after them.
Gotta shake it. I mean, hey, you haven't lived until you've been in a police chase, right? Number 3 good thing about this movie, something near and dear to Kim's heart. Cookbook porn.
Yeah, there's a lot of Betty Crocker madness in this. Though I would say the whole film in itself is like a recipe.
For
kitsch nightmares.
Got it. Right on. Well, Parents, it's streaming on Tubi right now. It's essentially a story from the perspective of a child who thinks there's something up with his parents. It's almost like it would make a great double bill with something like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Ooh.
But also, I don't know.
Serial Mom.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. He starts to suspect that his parents are maybe eating people, which I very much want to talk to you about, because I think I still, despite seeing them murder a person on screen, I still think it's up in the air as to whether or not they've killed a person. So we're going to throw to the trailer, and when we come back, we're going to get to the bottom of this suburban nightmare mystery.
Bob Balaban's Kitsch Nightmare returns after these messages.
Something is eating at young Michael Lemley.
You're not scared of your room, are you?
Michael, the cellar's dark. Everything's dark at night.
His parents think Michael's problem is in his head. But Michael knows it's on his plate.
What are we eating? Leftovers, honey. Leftovers from what?
From the refrigerator.
We had leftovers every day since we moved here. I'd like to know what they were before they were leftovers.
Before that, they were leftovers to be.
Michael, there's nothing to be frightened of.
Now, there's a new name for terror. Parents.
A Balaban's Parents, I almost said Kitchen Nightmares, is currently sitting at a 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb, a 53% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 3.3 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Just goes to show, critics never get it when it hits the movie theaters. You gotta wait 25 years, like a cookbook porn recipe for suburban kitchen nightmares. You gotta put it on simmer, let it sit on the back burner for 25 years, and eventually it'll find its audience.
Yeah, this one is definitely one for the crock pot.
Yeah.
And the era of the crock pot.
Did we cover kitsch enough in the previous episode? Because I know it's gonna come up a lot in the conversation. Like, do we think that people get kitsch?
I have the definition open.
Let's hear it.
Although I don't know if I agree with some of the first...
Didn't agree with the definition for camp. It's totally fitting with the episode.
You know, they get to it, though. They get to the point. So kitsch is a term applied to art and design that is perceived as naive imitation.
Naive.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? Sassy. Overly eccentric, gratuitous, or of banal taste. Uh-huh.
So if it's in a department store, it's kitsch. But if you take that exact same setup and put it at Burning Man, it's camp, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Really, context is everything.
Yes. In the first half of the 20th century, kitsch was used in reference to mass-produced pop cultural products that lacked the conceptual depth of fine art. However, since the emergence of pop art in the 1950s, kitsch has taken on a newfound highbrow appeal, often wielded in knowingly ironic, humorous, or earnest manners.
This is the same definition for camp.
Kitsch relates to camp as they both incorporate irony and extravagance.
It's like when you see the censors define pornography, they're just like, oh, if it's like like you know it when you see it.
I think the fun thing about kitsch is that we kind of mentioned this a little bit when in our discussion on camp, how like it's the peak of kitsch and camp aesthetically, at least for me and how I see it, is in that 1950s Jetsons era suburbia.
Yeah, the G Golly, PG, Pleasantville. The Pleasantville stuff.
Well, you could say the Pleasantville, the Edward Scissorhands, the Jetsons, the Flintstones. So many of those trope nostalgia families are the epitome of kitsch. And I love the aesthetic of Parents. I loved it in Serial Mom. Mm-hmm. It's such a great juxtaposition for setting a horror story.
Oh, yeah.
That I would never get sick of it. You could release a kitschy horror comedy every year, and I'd be like, I love that 2.5 bedroom bungalow with the porte cochere.
Come on, A24, shift gears. Start giving us the white picket fence horror.
I know, we got a little bit of it with Don't Worry, Darling, but it was like...
But not a...
It wasn't kitschy enough.
Yeah.
The dresses were great, but...
Oh, yeah, the
Barbie
costume department had a
movie.
field day.
The Barbie movie is going to give me an overdose. I'm very excited.
Definitely
because Barbie was born in the 50s, so she is like maximum kitsch camp.
And that's exactly what you get with a movie like Parents. Parents seems to be a little more like authentically kitsch because it's set in that time period. It's not trying to be super over the top, like, oh, we're in the 90s, but it looks like the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're purely in the 50s. We've got teachers who have apples on their fucking desks. We've got wives that are basically, waking up at 4 a.m. to look astonishing by the time their husbands are ready for their morning coffee. Oh man, just watching them get ready to go to a dinner party, like a casual dinner party with friends, is exhausting.
Oh, I was like, it's so great, right?
Yo, no, it's great. I love looking at it. I could not live in that era.
Like, just to eat Chex Mix with marshmallows in it and play cards.
But then also pretend like it's the greatest thing you've ever seen. Like, oh my God, where did you get the recipe for this?
Well, that's just being a good guest.
I know. That scene's great because it has one of my favorite lines in the movie where the daughter of the friends that they're visiting and the lead kid, Randy Quaid and Mary Beth Hurt's son, they're spying in on their parents, and she says that, well, he's saying like, what's happening to them? Because obviously they're acting different, they're getting drunk, and the little girl says like, they're changing. It happens when you get older. That's my favorite stuff in this movie is just seeing kids look at their parents suspiciously.
Yeah, the kid perspective is really nailed in this film. When I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, this is definitely R.L. Stein's favorite horror movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because he had so many of those stories, like don't go in the basement and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, it's always like what your parents are up to when you're not supposed to be around.
Like Dad was growing like a weird jungle of evil down there.
Yeah, and he's going to feed you to it, obviously.
Yeah, it's so great, too, because we briefly listened to an interview with Bob Balaban before we started recording, and he kind of made this really great point about how, like, as a kid, you don't really know your parents. Like,
yeah.
You're given this, like, especially when you're younger, you're getting, like, a sugar-coated version of them. Like, you only see them between, 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. You're in school. You're.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, your parents aren't, especially nowadays when both your parents are normally working. Like, I wouldn't see my parents until, like, 5:30, 6 o'clock. And then you'd hang out with them through dinner, I guess, and then you'd watch, a TV show if you all watched it together, and then boop, bedtime, and you wouldn't know them until the summer.
Yeah. It's also an era of parents not bending over backwards for their kids. Like nowadays, there's a lot of just like, oh, it's us, we're a family, we're together.
You assume that, but like we're getting a lot of, because we're not parents ourselves, we don't have our own like, family circle. So we're getting a lot of what I guess Instagram and is being, sold to us as what families look like today.
That's true, but
mommy bloggers, and I would assume that's an overzealous version of what parenting is actually like today. But
yeah. There's a nugget of truth in it somewhere. I mean,
I'm
also basing my 1950s parenting off movies and TV as well.
I thought you were like, I'm basing my 1950s parenting off of my 1990s parenting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems like the 1950s parent was a little bit more removed. They were like, we're having friends over. You go away.
Make scarce.
Yeah, make scarce. I like that. Yeah. It's like the last era of the children should be seen and not heard mentality. It's like the parents don't want the kids around, like until they're 18.
Yeah, and you kind of get a vibe, and particularly from Randy Quaid, because he's serving this very hard to read, definitely maybe a sociopath like line delivery with all of his conversations with his son. You're looking so desperately at him to get something from him, and what you get is that he doesn't like his son.
Yeah, definitely. But don't.
But it's so ambiguous.
Yes.
He is so hard to read.
Don't you remember as a kid not being happy with the way adults talked to you? Like you can tell that they're softening the edges on it. Hey champ, how are you? And it's just like I see that you talk to adults and even people just a little bit older than me way different than you're talking to me right now, and something like I don't know why you're doing it, but it rings so false that it makes you feel like your parents are aliens.
Yeah, well, and so this is an experience that I don't know if you would have had as much of because you were the oldest, so I feel like you got let in a little earlier.
And I had those cool John Waters parents.
But growing up as the youngest in a family with a pretty big age gap between the kids, my brother was 12 years older than me, I felt very, not excluded, but like let out of the adult club. Like I felt very outside of it. And I took it very personally that I wasn't included. You know what I mean? Like I really wanted to like hang out with the cool kids, and I didn't want to go to bed at 8 p.m. and like everybody else gets to stay up, but they were like, Kim, go to bed. We're watching Jaws. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking watch Jaws.
you sound like a little Joe Pesci.
Hey, give me Jaws, see?
Yeah, no, like I definitely don't necessarily have that. Yeah, because having been, I only ever felt that way.
It's given me a complex, so you should be very happy. I feel very slighted when I'm excluded from things.
Okay, yeah.
Very internally slighted.
Yeah, I didn't have that. But I would say that the kid in the movie definitely does. Being an only child can't help. But there is like a world that he's beginning to understand, or at least he's a world that he's seeing that he doesn't quite understand, that his brain is trying to make sense of.
Yeah, and I think he's seeing it for the first time. I think this is he's at an age in his life where he's finally starting to think like, who are these people I live with?
Yeah, and at no point does he ever get any evidence that they are people he wants to hang out with.
Well, and how you were saying you're not really entirely sure if they are actually cannibals.
Yes.
Is because he is such an imaginative little boy.
I think he's just grossed out by like a few meals that they cook. And they're like, oh, this is so good. Oh, it's so great. And he's just like, I'm not nuts about this.
I have to say, watching this film as a vegan person who hasn't eaten or been nearly around meat in a while, it was very gross.
Well, I think they're good. They're taking steps to make it look gross.
Yeah, this is a very meat-forward family.
yeah. Well, I mean, like those. It's also the Betty Crocker cookbook where it's just like, just fucking boil it until it's done and throw it on a bed of lettuce.
Yeah, and I mean, back then roasts were like, it was just like slow cook it until it, it's gray and falls off of whatever it was cooked on.
Mix an egg into it.
Yeah, breadcrumbs, you're done.
Yeah, pretty much. Have a cigarette, a glass of wine. Better vacuum the house before they come back home.
Serve it with mom's macaroni salad and chilla pudding.
Yeah, I mean, like the reason people love watching Hannibal, the show, is because it felt like watching the Food Network. Like, yes, he's supposed to be cooking a person, but it looks delicious. Like it looks like something you would genuinely pay for. In this movie, it's not really appealing. Even the stuff that they do a good job cooking is not great. And they have these eyes when they look at it like, oh yeah, we're gonna eat that fucking meat. No, it's gonna be so good.
Yeah, and there's a lot of mincing, there's a lot of pounding.
Yeah, but I don't know. I really, really, really don't know if they are actually cannibals. Now, let's forget about the last 15 minutes of the movie just for a minute while we talk.
Wiped.
It's probably just that he walked in on his parents having sex in the living room.
Yeah.
Her lipstick, his mom's lipstick, was smeared all over the both of them, and he doesn't know what they're doing.
They're sweaty.
Yeah.
There's something very primal about it.
Yeah, they look like they were really going at it.
Why the living room?
I don't know, it's hot.
Did they take the plastic off the couch and lay it on the floor?
I don't know if you noticed, they did actually put bed sheets down on the carpet.
I mean, that's kind of fun. Like they were having a little camp out.
Like, oh, the little shitheads in bed.
Sexy camp out.
Love it. And he just keeps turning that memory over in his head, trying to figure out what they were doing. Like, he's years off from figuring out what they were doing. But they really single in on the kissing and the smearing of lipstick, and then that slowly morphs into like biting, and then now it's all blood everywhere. And he, like, the more that he revisits that memory, the grosser it gets, and the best he can come up with is that they're eating people in the living room.
Yeah.
And that's just how I think most of the movie goes.
But I think that's just kids' brains, they're growing, they're trying to fill in the blanks of things that they don't know. Mm-hmm. And he's like, it's also at an age where you didn't have any blanks because you were just like, woo, playing is fun.
Yeah.
My stomach is hungry. And that was
stomach is hungry.
That's all you worried about was those two things.
I love that you have separated yourself from your stomach. Like it's a tiny little Muppet that lives inside you.
Oh,
it's
no. I have to go inside now. So it's like at one moment in your life, and I'm going to say around the age of anywhere between like 9 and 11, where all of a sudden questions have formed.
Yeah.
So you're immediately filling all those questions with absurd and wild and crazy answers. And this is one of those, like, all synapses are firing, and this is the best, most true thing this child could come up with, was that his parents are evil and eating people that his dad finds at Toxico.
Yeah, so here are the other details that we should probably color in. Like, his dad works at Toxico.
Love it.
Works with chemicals. Really unsure what he actually does.
Whatever it is, it's terrible for the environment.
Yeah, oh man, they're so proud of it though. Like the one day that he brings his kid to work, he's just like, yep, we developed this toxin that'll in an afternoon will turn a whole fucking jungle into mulch.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not something to be proud of.
Exactly.
Like, that's right, we just drop a few of these babies and bing bam, we've ruined the world.
What rainforest?
But then there's also scenes where we see him visiting like a morgue where they've got all these people that they can just use for parts. Like, oh yeah, give me 100 grams of liver. It's like he's putting in an order.
The order is great.
It's great. And I guess he's using that for some sort of test with some, like, to see how biomaterial is going to react to whatever this new chemical
Yeah, I mean,
is.
they're probably testing it for, like, if it's carcinogenic or whatever. Or,
Yeah.
you know, gonna grow you an extra DNA chain. I don't know.
Yeah. But then there's also the problem of the son finding a foot, like a whole ass leg in the basement, bringing the social worker from school home, explaining to her what his nightmares look like. Where she finds a dead body, they kill that woman in the kitchen, like this. But this could maybe all be part of his imagination still, because that murder sequence is a little strange. Like, there's not a whole lot of screaming going on, and like the way that she's acting almost seems false. Like, it's not how you would react to somebody attacking you.
She's very muted in a weird way.
Yeah.
And also the body, like, falls in the window trapping of the basement, and you're just
Yeah.
like, where was that body?
It was in the I think it was just in the window well, and it just flopped over. Like, would they hide a body like that? I'm not sure. And but then on top of that, after they've clearly killed a woman and barbecued her up, they're talking to their son about how he's an outsider and we're outsiders, and we could move again and go to the forest somewhere remote, but we'd have to live close to an interstate to get the dead bodies from the accidents and stuff. So it really does seem like at the end of the movie it tries to really underline the fact that yes, they are cannibals.
But we're also really stylized in that moment, because how it's shot, they're on almost like a spinning carousel, and the background is constantly moving behind them. So there's something askew about the entire visual component of that scene. So we could be more in his head, and these are things he's interpreting them saying to him. The ending of the film could be entirely from the son's perspective.
You think this little boy went crazy?
Oh, absolutely. He stabs his parents
Yeah.
and then lights them on fire.
You're saying that like he's a little psychopath. Like, he stabbed his father kind of in self-defense. He didn't want to eat dinner. But then Dad went off the handle, or Dad flew off the handle and killed, tried to kill him, kills his mother in the process. She stabbed him a few
Mom's
times.
behavior in that is interesting, and how she tries to protect the son after the dad has stabbed him. So I feel like the actions that are happening in that dinner scene are there, but the words he's hearing aren't the words they're saying.
Oh, you think that it's just like a domestic dispute? There's a double murder
No,
that
I think
he filtered.
I think his parents were talking to him. Maybe you know about like all the weird drawings he's been doing or something along those lines, and he stabs Dad because he tries to make him eat.
Sure.
Then it becomes this physical altercation
She
where
becomes worried for her
Mom's
son.
trying to step in, and
Okay.
then Dad gets stabbed, she gets stabbed, everybody gets stabbed, the gas line breaks.
Family dinners, right? I love that you mentioned how askew everything looked at the end of the movie, because like that's like the real nugget of gold in this is the cinematography. I mean,
There's so many fun visual bits and tidbits in this movie, and a lot of it, like, you're like, okay, this is experimenting. This is his first feature film. He wants to, like, there are all these shots that he's wanted to do, and he's just gonna do them all in this first movie.
Yeah.
And I love it.
goes for broke.
And I feel like this is a good movie to do that kind of experimenting, because you're playing with an unreliable narrator. Potentially, there's a lot of nightmare sequences from the perspective of a child. There's a lot here to play with. All of them are standout.
Right? If there was a concise way to say it, I would have put it in the three good things. But like, I hate saying like the cinematography's great.
There's some great shots.
But there's when that social worker discovers that dead body, she screams and the camera goes back from her open mouth across the basement into the
Drainage pipe.
Is it the drainage pipe?
I don't know. It goes through a grate, which is fucking cool.
Yeah, it goes through a grate into, I think, the air duct, which travels up the house, through his bedroom, up the attic, out an exhaust pipe for some of the plumbing, and then that's where we see that Mom or Dad has come home. Like, it looks incredible, and that's just one shot of a ton of great shit.
There's a really great dioptic shot that is actually a great dioptic shot, and not just, oh, look, it's a dioptic shot. How great.
Like, oh, yay, you're focusing on two things, but half the screen is just fucking fuzz. right now.
Oh man, I hate that middle blur. This one is actually cut by the fireplace. It looks very, very nice.
Yeah, even Brian De Palma is guilty of doing that. You know,
He's done maybe the most good dioptic shots, but that isn't to say he hasn't done some bad ones.
Very true. Yeah, no, it's a visual feast, you know, in line with the rest of the movie. And yeah, it's on Tubi right now. You got to watch it. It's like 80 minutes. There's another thing. Like, oh boy, it could have been 2 hours long, and that would have fucking sucked.
I think that would have been too much for how the film is, because a lot of it is visual nightmare.
Yeah.
Drawing it out, like, I think my parents are cannibals. There's not a whole lot of plot there.
Yeah.
So I think being concise as a film was a smart move.
Yeah, it does feel a little slow sometimes, because there isn't a whole lot there other than I think my parents are cannibals, and the social worker is gonna help me find out whether or not that's true, maybe.
But it was interesting too, just seeing him have to interact with another adult. There's a very short scene in the middle when he's first meeting her, and he sees her like rooting through her like bohemian hobo bag.
Yes.
And he's like, "You're not a real adult."
Yeah.
Because his only interaction with adults have been these like tightly wound 1950s upstanding specimens, and
Yeah.
she's like this, you know, social sciences artistic woman with crazy hair who smokes in the office.
Yeah.
And so like this for him is probably weirder than seeing his cannibal parents.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. That's true. 'Cause
Yeah, I really like that scene for some reason.
It's such a small detail, but it's something that you would really hang on to as a kid. Yeah, no, everybody is presenting a reality that they want you to believe, and she's just like, where the fuck are my goddamn cigarettes? And it's so funny because even in that scene I was just like, this bag is impractical. Like,
Okay, so I want you to go back to your kid brain.
yeah.
Your 11-year-old bearded John DeHaan.
Stubble at that time.
What was your, like, give me an irrational fear you had. What was a weird thing that you either believed or were afraid of or had pondered?
Okay.
When you were watching Parents, surely there was a moment that you were just like, oh, I can relate to this feeling.
I think it might be a similar scene that you would relate to, and it was definitely younger than 11. Come on.
Whatever. It's just
11. I was on the internet watching people die.
That's so true.
Yeah. And we were all worse for it. We all grew up. We all did it. Here we are.
We're all fucked.
Scared. Yeah. No. It's a scene where he has turned out the light for bed and doesn't want to walk across. It's like there isn't like a lot of thought process in it. Like we don't see him considering walking to the bed and maybe having something grab his feet as he gets to the bed. But there was a few minutes ago a conversation about being scared of something under your bed, and so he turns the light out and then dives from the light switch into his bed, which is another great visual moment because he sinks through the bed into a pool of blood, disappears, and then the camera pulls up and he's swishing his hand through like, I don't know, a fucking
tomato sauce.
bowl of
Yeah,
tomato sauce or jelly or something that his mom's working with. It's an incredible transition, but like, yeah, no, I think I've actually talked about it in this podcast because I would read scary books in bed,
Yeah.
and then you'd have to get up.
Honestly,
to turn the light
a
off.
universal experience.
Yeah,
I think I rearranged my room at one point so that my bed was right under my light switch.
Nice move. Yeah, like
Yeah.
why didn't we all just bring sticks in just to reach and stick?
This is my monster stick.
Yeah. Oh, is that to hit monsters with? Nah, it's just to get the light switch. Man, I hated that.
Yeah, see, I had the belief in my like nighttime scared of monsters under the bed that as long as my feet were tucked under the blankets, nothing would get me.
That's great.
And it did not matter how fucking hot and sweaty I got. Like, I would MacGyver my blankets so that they weren't on anything but my feet. But as long as the monster could not see my feet at the edge of my bed, it would not know I was there sleeping and ripe to be eaten.
That's good. Yeah, that's why you're still alive today.
It's true.
Yeah.
It was after watching It.
Oh yeah.
There was a definitive monster I was afraid of, and it was Tim Curry as Pennywise the Clown.
I can't really think of another one. I'm sure something else will come to mind, but that was definitely the moment in the movie that resonated with me the most.
I have another really weird one that I
want to hear it.
I'm not sure if I've told you this before, but if I haven't, this is we're definitely gonna get a really weird reaction from you because it is absurd.
Okay.
And this is like long standing. This isn't like I had a week long, this was a weird thing that I believed, but
So this was until 17.
Maybe. So growing up, my dad was very like a stoic, kind of quiet guy. He had his fun moments. Like he liked to play board games and play outside and stuff, but he was definitely like not moody, but you had to catch him in a mood for him to be playful. Otherwise he was like quiet and like occupied. He was either like on the computer or on the TV, and he was very hard to read because he was so stoic.
I'm not trying to derail you here, but like Randy Quaid does a great job of that in this movie.
He does do a great job.
There is a particular dinner sequence where you're like, he's just kind of mad tonight, and there's no real reason for it. And like as a kid, you definitely don't get that reason. You're like, Dad's
you
just
never
a little
find
prickly.
out,
Yeah.
and you're just like, ooh, gotta tiptoe, gotta be careful. And for some reason, I don't know how I got in my head, but I was like, okay, I think my dad can read minds.
Oh, yes, you've told me this. But did you think he could read other people's minds or just yours?
I don't think it mattered whether he could read other people's minds.
But the point is he could read yours, so it was all over.
He could read my mind.
Okay.
And so I was always like very careful around my dad because like especially when he was in a mood, like I didn't want my like wild, crazy, loud mind to be annoying or to think something that would get me in trouble. So I was very, very careful around my dad.
This is like that episode of Treehouse of Horrors where you gotta think happy thoughts around the boy.
But also, like as this kind of became more of a thing that I believed in, and it became this like more long-standing thing, I would start to like challenge it.
You're having psychic battles with your dad?
So I would start like thinking things, like asking questions, and then just seeing if like, you know, in the next few hours he would answer that question. Just like drop the answer. You know what I mean?
So when you say ask, you mean in your mind?
In my mind.
Okay. And did he?
Or I would think, so the thing is like, it was so weirdly ambiguous and vague that I was like, he's on to me.
You literally gave yourself like a horoscope or a tarot reading. Like giving yourself something vague is the worst thing you can do. You had to be hyper specific.
Yeah, but there were so many levels to it because if he didn't answer, it was because he knew that if he answered the question that I had only asked in my mind, that I would have confirmation.
You fucking gaslit yourself.
I really did. And I definitely believed it for like, I would say at least 2 solid years. I believed my dad could read minds.
What age? What age is?
I don't know. Young. It was before we moved into our new house, so I was under the age of 12.
Okay. Yeah, so still a child.
But old enough to have logic and reason and try to foil my magical dad.
But also old enough to know
revealing his supernatural powers.
I got the problem there though is you were also old enough to know that it would be a very embarrassing question if you
ever
asked it out loud.
He wouldn't tell me the truth.
I love it. Like you wouldn't just ask somebody else, like, "Hey, can Dad read your minds too?" You're like, "Whoa, what?" Like your brother and sister are just like, "What the fuck did you just say?"
I think it's probably because I didn't really get away with anything when I was a kid, and so I thought there was like an extra level of perception involved.
You couldn't calculate
like,
the fact that they had already had 2 kids and they knew exactly everything you were gonna do.
Like, surely I can pull the wool over their eyes.
Man, this is not related. Nothing similar at all to what you were saying, but like I do remember one time like I did something stupid, like I tried to light something on fire and it clearly melted and I was like, oh shit, like I was just playing with a lighter and I melted something. I was like, fuck. And then my parents obviously noticed and then they interrogated my brother and they put us in separate rooms. And
oh my god,
I fucking caved so quick because my dad pulled out like the genius parent move where he's just like, your brother already told me you did it. And I was like, what? How does he know? Because I had done it myself.
He hits a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling and he's like, fess up.
Yeah, I caved real quick. They got me. And
she's already taken a deal.
Yeah, like it was like I
You're
got
gonna
prisoner
get 20 to
dilemma.
life if you don't talk now. And the ashes into your coffee.
Man, the funny thing too is I remember after that because he just fucking grinned and smirked and laughed, and I was like, he fucking got me. Like I knew I figured out the entire.
I would have got from that Dad psychic.
Yeah, okay, so I just didn't make the leap to supernatural abilities. Oh boy, so Kim, how do you rate Parents by Bob Balaban?
I really liked this movie. It was gross at times. It was the grossest of times. It was the blurst of times. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 4.
Wow.
Yeah, I really liked it. You know this about me. The kitsch bump, John.
The kitsch bump's definitely there. I really like Mary Beth Hurt, who plays mom. Also plays mom in My Boyfriend's Back. She's just got such a great look. She's in a ton of movies that we've seen. I do think that this movie's missing something. Like, it doesn't do enough, but like, goddamn, does it look great. It's a kick-ass first feature.
It also feels very Canadian. I don't know if you got that vibe also.
It's the YTV of it all.
And like the Christmas story of it all. Like it felt like a Canadian suburb.
It's shot in Toronto.
Yeah.
I mean, you've probably walked near those
I was thinking
houses.
it might be my grandma's neighborhood because it was all bungalows like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was probably built around that time. Because I think it was built in 1958, the exterior set or something.
I think that's what they were saying, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I'll give Parents a 3 out of 4.
You just wanted more like hands in the Gerberator and stuff.
Oh man, how did we fucking forget
I know,
about that
and the
nightmare
blood from the
sequence?
fridge. Yeah,
Just pulling off the top of the fridge.
That was good.
That little boy.
If he doesn't grow up to be a writer.
Well, also, like, he did such a great job. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the bloopers. Maybe he was in the corner shaking after every take. But, like, he seemed completely unfazed by some stuff that looked like it would fuck any child up. Like, you can work around some weirder things, but there are actual scenes of him in the shot with a hand coming out of the Gerberator, like, frantically, like, trying to find an escape, and then blood everywhere. Like, it's a great nightmare sequence, and I'd be incredibly surprised to find out that he didn't have personal nightmares from that moment. But I guess, like, it's movie making, right? Like, right before they called action, there was a guy underneath the sink who was like, "Hey, how's it going, kid? Don't worry, this is going to be a lot of fun." Great visuals. Yeah, 3 out of 4 from me, 3.5 out of 4 from Kim. That was a huge surprise. But what a great kitschy little nightmare. Let us know what you thought of Bob Balaban's Parents over on Twitter, at NOFS Podcast if you're still on Twitter, or more preferably in the Nightmare on Film Street Discord at nofspodcast.com/discord.
Also, we want to know all of the weird shit you believed or were afraid of when you were, like, the weirdest thing you held to be true when you were a child. I want to know. Hopefully it's weirder than me thinking my dad was psychic for 2 years.
I mean, hey, if your parents actually were cannibals when you were younger, let us know. The statute of limitations definitely doesn't expire on that. And while you're at it, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you're listening to this. It really helps us grow the show. It's a quick, easy, free way to support the show. But if you want some bonus content, if you want more nightmare, you can head over to nofspodcast.com/Fiend Club to get hours of bonus content and access to the watch parties that we host.
And if you want to just support us for, like one time, throw us a little bit of support, you can grab a Nightmare on Film Street t-shirt or a spooky horror shirt that we've designed at store.nofspodcast.com. There's like over 100 over there. So if you haven't checked out our store in a while, head over. There's tons of spooky stuff there.
Yeah, it's t-shirt season. You gotta let the neighborhood know what weird horror movies you've been watching when you're walking your dog. Get yourself a new horror shirt.
Kitsch Nightmare.
Yeah, keep an eye out for that one. I got a pretty good feeling it's actually gonna happen.
I'm making it.
But either way, that's it for us this week. We'll be back again next Thursday. But until then, I'm John.
I'm Kim. Stay creepy.
And don't trust your parents.
Or do.
Be mindful of the fact that your parents might be cannibals. Walk on eggshells around your parents, kids.
It appears you made it out alive, but we'll get you next time. Help us to grow the horde. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you subscribe. More terror can be found lurking on our website, nofspodcast.com. Until next time, stay creepy, fiends.